Hi, everybody. This is Gigi from Wellness on Wheels, and today I have the honor of welcoming Dr. Peter Moran, who is our amazing physician of functional medicine, part of our team, Wellness on Wheels. And Dr. Moran's background is in emergency medicine as well as internal medicine. And in the 90s, he was a pioneer in actually mobile concierge medicine. It was a very new idea back then. He and his clinical team provided on-site medical services to hotels, businesses, as well as geriatric patients who are also homebound. But now, also, Dr. Moran specializes in non-pharmaceutical detox, and it's a treatment modality that I've had the honor to work with him on. It's fascinating, and hopefully we'll be able to invite you back and have you tell us more about that, Dr. Moran. But first, I want you to tell us about what is functional medicine. I mean, people have really heard a lot about it, but can you tell us about that a little bit and what it does and how it works?
Sure. Functional medicine tries to take in the whole person. It's not really holistic medicine in a way, but what it does is that it takes you back from childhood, and it even goes into what your parents were doing because they had an influence on you as a fetus and coming through childhood, and then it just sees how you changed, and as far as your hormones were changing, and it looks at your DNA, and it really gets down into the whole root and cause of like what was the canvas like. And then a lot of people go to a doctor who have problems that reoccur. They go to a doctor for that problem. But usually what happens is that the canvas is made through life, and then there's a trigger that actually puts that blot on the canvas where you're now having these symptoms. And in order to manage those symptoms, you have to go back to the canvas and restructure what was going on all the way along. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so how are you using this concept now in a way to address what we're dealing with right now with this horrific pandemic? Is this concept involve nutraceuticals, or what other things come into play? And what are you doing to address this now that we're dealing with this horrible virus that nobody knows?
Well, we have a lot of great clues of what to do with this virus. And one of them is that it goes after this ACE2 receptor. Now, the ACE2 receptor site has itself in various places. One's like the lungs, the other one's the cardiovascular, which are the arteries plus the heart. And then the other is the GI tract. So what happens is that you notice that the people that are coming down with the virus are people who are not in such good health, people who have asthma, COPD, people who are smokers, or people who are doing vaping. Vapors are also high risk at this stuff. And then you also have people who have cardiovascular problems. And then as we age, our immune system starts to wear down. So knowing that we have all of these combined factors, what the whole plan is to try to strengthen the ACE2 receptors, or the things that are around it. So what is really interesting is that for most part, the people in California get more exercise. And I don't want people from New York coming down on me on this.
No, please don't, because I'm a New Yorker.
But no, people in California, they're out walking. You see it a lot around here. You see it where, every time I talk to you, you're always taking your walk once or at least twice a day, maybe, Gigi. Yep. So we are more health conscious. And that's what it seems like. So it's the health conscious people that are actually keeping the inflammation down in their lungs. Granted, this vaping habit has come up, and that's going to come back. You're going to see problems with that, with this COVID virus and the vaping. And then, but also you have smoking. You have people who just don't take care of themselves are more exposed. When they get exposed, rather, to this virus, the virus is able to take exception to them and actually be able to go ahead and penetrate the cells that the receptor is sitting on. And that's how this thing is developing.
So are we looking at developing or fortifying our immune system then through the use of supplements that you're creating, or how is this actually going to go against or fight against the this particular virus? How do we take care of ourselves?
Okay, so this is a fine example of functional medicine. So what causes the immune system to be weakened is the inflammation. So what causes inflammation is usually things that we eat. So 70-80% of the immune system's in the gut. So people, I'm sure some people, they eat things and all of a sudden they get a bloat or they don't feel good. That's because what you just ate really doesn't agree with you. And what it has done, that has now triggered your immune system. So if the immune system's busy with your belly, it's not going to be able to help you with your lungs. So the idea is to get the sugar out, take on a diet like the Paleolithic diet or something like that, and get some exercise, do some breathing. And then what will happen is that, and it doesn't take long when you start doing this stuff. It only takes like about maybe a couple of weeks and you'll notice a difference.
I
And
know
you'll
I
feel
have.
stronger.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
made, I really, since this whole stay-at-home business, I've fortified my exercise routine 100-fold. And I can tell that I have more strength than I did before. But if I wanted to supplement that besides diet, what is your recommendation? I know you're creating a new approach and a product line that is very interesting. You're known for all your recommendations in the nutraceutical field, and you've helped me with several things. So what is this new approach that you're now addressing specifically to COVID?
So I'm just releasing a new video which really explains the life cycle of COVID-19. And in that life cycle of COVID-19, there are things which are what we eat, like from green leafy vegetables, are called flavonoids. Green tea extract is enriched in flavonoids. So are other things that are of vegetable source. But you could take one capsule, and that's equivalent to a pound of broccoli, let's say. Or one capsule is equivalent to a quart of green tea. And what it does is that once you get those concentrations up, and then you also work with other things that are very natural, like vitamin D, and someone says, well, I could just sit out in the sun for the day. No, it doesn't work that way. You're not going to get those levels up to where, you're going to be able to defend your body. Because the thing is that when you're healthy, you're not using those vitamins as much, and they're able to stay at a normal level, more or less. But when you're sick or you're under stress, those levels plummet, and now you're really exposed to something that can defend you. So you work with things like quercetin, and you work with green tea extract. And what happens, and which is really interesting, is that in all the places in the development of the reproductive cycle, life cycle of the virus, which is explained in that video, quercetin and the green tea extract has a direct effect on it. There are certain ways of taking it, and there's certain quantities that you want to take. And then also what they do is that when the virus is getting ready to replicate, by using those two flavonoids, the quercetin and green tea, it opens up the host cell so that zinc could be pushed into the cell, and that interferes with the replication of the virus. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing steps all along the way where we can interfere with the replication of the virus, and by doing that, by the time it gets to the end to open up and let itself free, you're not getting this pro-cytokine storm, pro-inflammatory cytokine storm, and you're not getting an abundant release of the virus. So you actually are taking control of it, while the other system, which is the immune system, is able now to adapt to that specific virus and is able to create the antibodies. So basically what you've done is that you have formed an active vaccination for yourself by allowing your body to take effect of what it can do.
So we don't have to wait for a vaccine, and we don't have to take a drug prophylactically like some people think is okay to do with this hydroxychloroquine, right? So that's a pretty strong drug, and it's probably better to look at things from a nutraceutical approach, from a dietary approach like you're talking about. And I know that you have your own brand and your own label, so we're offering, obviously, as you are, consultations through telemedicine for people who may want to look at these options because people are nervous, they're scared, they're stressed, which isn't good for our immune system, like you said, right? Um, so is that something that we can approach with the future in terms of shifting our nutraceutical approach?
Well, let's look at it this way with this virus especially. We know that 90% of the people that get the virus, some of them are asymptomatic. They don't have the symptoms of it, so they're actually producing the antibodies. The 5% of them are sent home, and maybe you need something like azithromycin or some other antibiotic or something like that just to kind of get you over that edge. So we're dealing with that 5%. That 5% really needs medical care. So if someone is getting sick and they are going downhill and they're not getting better, they need to get in as fast as possible, have the COVID culturing done to see whether or not you do have it. And if you do have it, there are a myriad of ways of going after it before your lungs start filling up with fluid. So it is preferred that if you're sick, don't stop, don't wait, go directly to the ER. They will see you there if needed be. But if you feel like you're just getting run down, then use the nutraceuticals and rest and remain away from other people as much as you can. So whatever you have, don't spread it. Get someone to come in and do one of the tests. I use the antigen test and the antibody test. They're both FDA approved. That's one thing you want to do, is that if you're going to do those tests, you make sure that they're FDA approved, not by asking the person because they'll say it is, but you actually go on to the FDA website and look at the name of what they're using and see if it's listed. Because there's a lot of silliness going on out there right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of testing sites everywhere. And here in LA County, not unlike where you are in Orange County, we have tons of testing sites and everybody can get a test for free. You can just make an appointment and go. You don't have to be symptomatic. So it is now all over. I don't even know what the tests are, but I'm just avoiding a lot of contact with other people, as all of us are. And hopefully this will pass, right? Dr. Moran, do you think this will have another surge? I mean, I've heard all kinds of things going on.
Well, it's kind of interesting. The way they're explaining it, it flies south for the summer. So they're actually seeing an increase. We're seeing an increase here because now the people are out mingling with each other again. But we also see an increase in a surge down south, down towards Latin America. Mm-hmm. And so what's going to happen is as it gets colder again, it's going to come back north. And that's what they're talking about, the winter time.
Okay.
So the whole premises of what we have now, we have a great summer ahead of us. We have the ability to get strong, don't drink too much, eat properly, get some exercise, get some sleep. Sleep is very important. Melatonin is very important. And so that when things come back in the wintertime is not to stop doing that. When it comes back in the wintertime is to continue staying in a good physical shape, because then your immune system is. And if your immune system's there, then you'll blow right through it.
So we're going to create new habits, hopefully good habits, as we shelter in place. We want to come back and talk with you again, Dr. Moran, about a very interesting thing that we're doing together, the non-pharmaceutical detox programs. We know that the opioid crisis has not really slowed down. There are going to be a lot of people coming out of this quarantine with various mental, health issues and addiction issues, and I think we want to be prepared for that as well. We want to kind of consider all these options for care that are more natural than pharmaceutical. But we thank you so much for a wonderful interview, and I hope we see you for part 2 with more interesting hot topics.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Gigi. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to coming back again.
Yes, thank you.